Welcome back in one of the Bears Proper Plays YouTube channel. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, and I'm back bringing out some more college basketball plays for you guys. We have two games on the dock tonight, one of them being a top 25 matchup, the other one being the Kansas Jayhawks going up against the Horned Frogs of TCU. Before that, let's talk about the 3-1 day. Back on the winning side, we have been trying to get over 500 for the last 2 weeks. Been up and down, up and down, up and down, trying to string together a couple wins in a row. 3-1 day here. Going to try to do it tomorrow, but the 3-1 day, Tennessee minus 7.5, easy. Mississippi State did make a comeback. I think it was like the first 8 minutes of the second half. Did make a comeback. I think it was like a 12-point game at the time, but Tennessee just put the hammer down and finished that game out. Iowa State minus 15.5 scored 110 points in this game, maybe 108. I turned it off after a minute because the spread, it was nervous toward the entire game. If you told me Iowa State scored 110 points, I would have said they won the game by 50 points. It was like a 22-point game. UCF just wouldn't go away. So Iowa State, kind of right. They did hammer them, but at the same time, kind of questionable on the defensive side. I don't know. I mean, they scored 100 and whatever points. They played great, especially late in the first half to open up the game. But I don't know. They played well enough to cover the spread. That's all that matters. Chaz Lanier over 17.5 points, easy. Had 16 or 15 at the half for Tennessee, finished with 20+. And then Trey Johnson hurt. I just watched the end of the Texas game going up against Missouri. Neither one of those teams can score. I think the score at the 16-minute mark was 1-0 in favor of Texas. So this game was just brutal to watch. 58-51, something like that final score. Missouri scored 2 points. 49. 2 points the last 6 minutes of the game in that one. Then Texas pulled away. But Trey Johnson had 12. Had plenty of shots, went 2 of 15 from the field, just couldn't make anything. So bad pick there. We're going to take the 3-1 day, and we're going to move on to Texas A&M going up against Ole Miss for the first play of the day. The SEC is loaded with talented teams. Both these teams in the top 25. Both these teams will make the March Madness tournament. This is a big game. This is a big game not only for the conference but for seeding come March Madness time. This is going to be a quality win, a quad one win, as they say, for either one of these teams if they get the job done. I'm going to take Texas A&M to cover the spread. I think Ole Miss is going to find a way to win this game at home just because it's so hard to win games on the road in the SEC. But A&M, they're coming off a good win against LSU. They had dropped back-to-back games going up against Bama and Kentucky, both those games against top 10 teams. So we kind of understand why they lose those two games. Also, without Wade Taylor in both those games. So Zerg Phelps was trying to lead the charge. She was scoring unbelievable amount of points. I think 30-something against Oklahoma, 30-something against Alabama. Had an okay day against Kentucky, but he's been leading the charge for A&M. Now Wade Taylor's back. And that kind of changes everything because now they can score and defend. They could score before, but now they have two really good scoring guards. That's why I think they cover the spread here on the road. They might even actually win the game, but I think 3.5 points is way too much with the guard play of Texas A&M. For Ole Miss, they're a great team as well. They're also coming off of a really tough loss on the road against Mississippi State. They were down by 10 points early in that game, came all the way back, had a battle back in the second half. That's a tough environment to play at Mississippi State. Lost that game by 3 points in overtime, just didn't have enough juice. Home crowd gets Mississippi State the win. That's an understandable loss. Now they're going to be back home. They also beat Alabama a couple games ago as well. So this is a very good Ole Miss team. I do expect this to be a great game. Both these teams just trading buckets. Whichever one of these teams can go on a run the last 4 minutes, that will be the team to win. Typically, the team to go on a run in the last 4 minutes is the home team in these top 25 games. So Ole Miss to win the game, A&M to cover the spread, 3.5. I know we're kind of on a tightrope there, but I like the 3.5 points with Texas A&M as the first play of the day. For the second play today, we're going to go back to the Jayhawks, Kansas, going up against TCU. I'm a Kansas fan. I've been out there. I've been honest about it. I do not see TCU covering this spread. TCU is not a very good team this season, and I don't even think Kansas is playing that well. I put $200 on them to win, $6,200 at plus 3,000 to win the title this season after that Iowa State game. I thought that would be the lowest they are offered this season. Still at plus 3,000, coming off a 10-point win going up against Kansas State. They started that game up 16-0, and Kansas State in Lawrence battled back, and they was like a single-digit game with 5 minutes left against the Jayhawks at home. So this Kansas team not playing their best basketball by any means. I think they've got a lot of work to do. Team chemistry-wise, they got to find the right lineup. Bill Self's one of the best coaches in college basketball, so he's going to figure out a way to do that. But this Kansas team right now, they're just going to outscore TCU. When I look at TCU, they just don't have a lot of scoring. They have a lot of decent players, just nobody that just jumps out the charts that can get you 20-plus points in any given night. I do think TCU's been playing okay this season. This would be a really good win, a quad one for them to maybe make the March Madness tournament, but they've lost 7 games this season. They lost at home against Utah in their last home game. Utah's not a good team whatsoever, so I think the Jayhawks on the road can get it done here. Minus 6.5. This is a game. I've said this before. This is a game that these top Big 12 teams, Kansas and Iowa State, they are known to go on the road and beat subpar Big 12 teams. It's how Kansas had the 20 in a row or whatever it was, Big 12 conference title. So I think Kansas will get the job done here. Minus 6.5 as the last game pick of the day for the first player prop. We're going to a guy who was at Kansas State. He was at Michigan last season. I remember watching him with Michigan. Michigan was horrible, by the way. I mean, they have made a complete 360 turnaround this season. But Doug McDaniel was the leading scorer last year for Michigan. Now he's with Kansas State. I would say whenever he went into Kansas State, he thought he was going to be the guy. Coleman Hawkins is kind of the guy this season for Kansas State. But he's an all-around good player, and I'm going to take him because he's overdue. He has scored single-digit points in 4 consecutive games. I'm going to list them all. Oklahoma State, 6 points. Houston, 5 points. Texas Tech, 4 points. Kansas, 9 points. He shot 11 times going up against the Jayhawks. He only made 4 shots, all of them being 2-pointers. He has not attempted over 4 threes in back-to-back games. This is the game. This is the game going up against Baylor. I have messed up the graphic once again. It is Baylor. It is Kansas State going up against Baylor. Baylor this season, they've been pretty good offensively. They're giving up nearly 45% shooting to opposing teams. They haven't been great at guarding the perimeter this season. Doug McDaniel should have himself a game. He's just got to get some confidence, make his first couple shots. He's a guy who can drop 20 points on any given night. He hasn't done it yet with Kansas. He has a 17-point game going up against Cincinnati, but I think Doug McDaniel is a fantastic player. He just needs a little bit of confidence. Kansas State, they've been somewhat competitive this season. They're just not an overall good team, and I think Doug McDaniel is a superstar player. He's got a little bit of mental issues. He thinks he's a little bit better than what people think he is, but I think he's a good player, and he's definitely a pure scorer. So I'm going to take his over 9.5 points. This is way too low. Again, he's overdue. Single-digit points in 4 consecutive games. I like him in this one going up against Baylor over his total points. And for the last play of the day, we are going to go to a guy I haven't talked about this season. I haven't even mentioned Stanford this season, but they're going up against Miami. Now, we could talk about Miami first because coming into the season, they had expectations. Now they are not going to make the March Madness tournament. They've been horrible. They don't play defense whatsoever. They are ranked 322nd in college basketball this season on the defensive side. They are giving up nearly 50% shooting to opposing teams. This is Miami. This is an ACC. This is an ACC. This is Power 5. They're up there with teams like Mississippi Valley State for worst defensive teams in the nation. This is all about heart. It's all about effort. Miami has no effort this season. Stanford's going to be able to score however many points they want, probably 100 plus in this game. And we're going to go to Jalen Blakes. He's a senior, 6'2". He's a big guard, and he's been scoring a bunch of points this season. 20 points in the last game on the road going up against North Carolina. That's the picture from the game. They beat North Carolina by 1 point, 72-71. He was a big part of that win with 72 points. He had 20 points in the game, 72 as a team, coming off a 15-point game as well against Wake Forest on the road. So he's been scoring a lot of points on the season. This is going to be by far the worst defensive team they've played on the season. Just looking at some of these teams, they've played some really bad teams this season, but Miami has the worst defense out of all of them. I think he puts up at least 15-plus points in this game. I'm going to take his over 14.5, maybe 15.5 points as the final player prop of the day. Let's go to the recap graphic. First play, we're going to be taking Kansas plus 6.5 on the road going up against TCU. And I like A&M plus 3.5 on the road against Ole Miss. We're going to be Road Warriors tomorrow. We have Doug McDaniel over his total points, probably going to be 9.5. I'm going to take that every single day. And then final play of the day, Jalen Blakes over his total points. I'm going to guess 14.5, but it might be 15.5 as the final play there. Guys, that's going to do it for the NCAA basketball picks and props for Wednesday, January 22nd slated games. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure drop a like this video and subscribe channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.